Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at noon, Trump's slump. Wall Street sees significant losses as China retaliates on the heels of new tariffs from President Trump. But the news is not all bad.
And an injured infant. A former NC State football player is charged with abusing his 5-month-old son. We're live at the Garner Police Station with what we know about this case.
It's comfortable right now on the patio, but with sunshine this afternoon, it could be the hottest day we've seen so far this year. We'll talk about our heat risk for today through the weekend.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, a war of words this noon hour between Fed Chair Jerome Powell and President Trump. We want to take you to these live pictures right now of Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaking right now to the economic outlook of the Society for Advancing Business Editing and Writing in Arlington, Virginia. These are live pictures right now. The president saying a short time ago on Truth Social, this will be a perfect time for Fed Chair Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. The president says energy prices are down, interest rates are down, inflation is down, jobs are up. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell says Trump's tariffs likely to raise inflation and slow the U.S. economic growth. We'll keep an eye on that and let you know if anything major comes out of what Fed Chair Jerome Powell is saying to that gathering right now.
All right, thank you, Ken. And we're going to go right to Wall Street. Take a look at this. The Dow Jones right now down 1,482 points. As we take another tumble as news of tariffs rattle markets worldwide. Right now, S&P 500 is down 225 points. Major indexes yesterday had their worst one-day losses since 2020. And this afternoon is on track to be the hottest so far this year. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at our heat risk and how long it stays hot. Elizabeth.
We're going to see this heat with us all the way through the weekend. And if you've been outside in the last few minutes, you may say, what heat? It actually feels just fine right now. But we will see skies clearing and temperatures really starting to climb by the middle of the afternoon. We have a heat risk mainly here right across the Triangle area, Wake County in particular, and a little farther north. For those who are sensitive to heat or don't have air conditioning, obviously this is the first one of the year. We're looking at the hottest day of the year so far as we could hit 90 degrees. And if we hit it, we'll end up breaking the record high for it today. In the meantime, it's lovely. And I see dozens of people behind me in the gardens. It's such a nice time to be out here. It's just 79 degrees currently. Our dew point is 67, so that is high. So it's muggy. You can feel the moisture in the atmosphere. Temperatures range from 75 in Roxborough to 81 in Southern Pines. That's our range right now. And we'll continue to see those temperatures climbing as we head through the afternoon, looking at highs solidly in the upper 80s to low 90s across our area. That summer heat continues for Saturday and Sunday and will likely have an impact on Dreamville. Number one, it will be hot, but also Sunday night, we could have some showers and thunderstorms. We'll talk about the timeline for those coming up.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. And speaking of Dreamville, that's happening this weekend at Dix Park. The park closes to the public at 10 o'clock tonight, and the event begins tomorrow at noon. Even if you are just driving near the park, the festival is going to affect traffic, so make sure you plan ahead. Anyone staying or parking in downtown Raleigh can ride the downtown shuttle to and from the venue. Passes are $50 and good all weekend. You can also catch a cheaper ride on the Go Raleigh bus. Routes 11 and 21 both travel from Dix Park to downtown for $2.50.
Well, with all the bad news, there is one bright spot economically. The newest jobs report shows 228,000 jobs were added in the last month, 63% higher than the expectation. WRAL's Sean Gallagher joins us in Chapel Hill, where economic pros are talking about what this means moving forward. Sean.
Yeah, Chris, despite that jobs report being positive, there is one word that keeps circulating when you bring up the economy, and that's worry. And that was the common theme during a briefing here on UNC's campus earlier today. UNC's Camelia Cunin shared new data on the interest rates, jobs report, and other economic metrics. She was showing that inflation is only at 2.8%, and household net worth is actually up across the board. But one cause for concern are the feelings from people like those walking on campus today. Optimism among the youth, and that's defined as people 18 to 34 years old, is dwindling. In each of the last 3 months, that group has felt worse about the economy than those over 55 years old. Since 1978, that's only happened 13 times. Now, Cunin said that the reason behind that is because younger people feel more demoralized right now because they don't have assets that older folks do, and they don't feel positive about that moving forward. Now, all of these are reasons why J.P. Morgan Chase put out a report saying that they believe there is a 60% chance that the United States will go into a recession within the next year. That is a number that Cunin says she feels a little bit more positive about, maybe in the 40% range. In Chapel Hill, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
And breaking news this hour, a Wake County father accused of beating his infant son.
And WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is live in Garner. Chelsea, this man has been charged and he's expected in court this afternoon.
Yeah, we should mention Tyler Baker Williams was charged with injuries his child sustained back in March 22nd, rather, according to warrants, and he was arrested right here in Garner at his home last night. Now, court documents said he did intentionally inflict serious bodily injury on a 5-month-old, his son, who suffered a fractured toe, fractured rib, and fractured ankle. 25-year-old Baker Williams played at NC State as a defensive back from 2018 to 2022. He also attended Southeast Raleigh High School prior to that, so very local to the area. Now, he's got a bond right now of $500,000, and he's due to go before a judge in just about 90 minutes. We'll be inside of that courtroom at 1:30 and bringing more from his first court appearance. Live in Garner, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
The family of a 7-year-old boy who drowned in the Tar River will hold a celebration of his life. That's happening in less than 2 hours. Ronald Brody Jr. fell into the river last month in Franklin County, and his body was found last Tuesday. Ronald was a second grader at Lewisburg Elementary School, and family and friends say he was such a sweet and caring boy. The service begins at 2 o'clock, and that's at 303 North Nash Street in Lewisburg.
We now know the names of the 2 people killed in an early morning crash on Lewisburg Road. Raleigh police say 22-year-old Trinity Amer was making a left turn from the 5401 development onto Lewisburg Road just before 3:30 this morning. Officers say her vehicle was struck by a car driven by 33-year-old Rashawn Combs. Police say Combs was speeding and ran a red light, striking Amer's driver's side door. Both drivers died at the scene. And we are working to learn the cause of a crash that closed part of I-95 North in Johnston County. A tractor trailer caught fire near Bagley Road exit. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows fire crews working to put out flames in the truck's cabin. We are working to learn the condition of the driver. Crews diverted drivers off of exit 501 and back onto the highway.
Duke fans are gearing up for tomorrow's big game. The Blue Devils take on Houston in the Final Four of the NCAA tournament in San Antonio. WRAL's Monica Casey is live in Durham. And Monica, you have been talking to those Cameron crazies all morning long. How are they feeling?
They are confident, Chris. Fans have told me throughout this tournament they believe this is their year. Take a look at your screen. WRAL cameras captured the 1-seed Duke leaving for San Antonio earlier this week. Now, tomorrow, Duke is hosting a watch party for students over at Cameron Indoor, and that's where senior student Juan Cruz tells me he and his friends will be watching the game. That's where they went back in 2022, the last time Duke was in the Final Four, and he says the atmosphere in there was electric, although they are hoping for a different outcome this year.
It's our second time in the Final Four in my 4 years here at Duke, and I have to say it's definitely different than the last time. I think that this time the energy is different, the team feels different, and I'm super excited for tomorrow.
Cruz also tells me this win would mean more to him as a senior after following Duke basketball during his 4 years here. Tip-off is tomorrow night around 8:50. Live in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
A lot of excitement. And folks, we want to see how you're supporting the Blue Devils. Wherever you're cheering, send your selfies, send your videos, and send your pictures to WRAL.com/reportit. We will share them on television and online.
Ivy League DEI drama, the demand the Trump administration is making with billions of dollars on the line for Harvard. And Florida child labor debate, the proposal to expand employment opportunities for teenagers, and why Florida's governor backs the idea.
Plus, fewer filings, more extensions. The reasons the IRS believes could be behind less Americans filing taxes by April 15th.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Outrage is growing over the arrest and deportation of a Maryland resident. He was sent to a prison in El Salvador despite his legal status. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was pulled over March 12th with his 5-year-old son in the vehicle, and the 29-year-old worked as a sheet metal apprentice. Well, his family and attorneys denied any gang ties and argued the U.S. has little evidence to support its claim.
Happening now in the W area live center, British police today charging British actor Russell Brand with rape and sexual assault. Now, these charges come after an 18-month investigation involving 4 women who accuses Brand of assault. The alleged sexual assaults of the 4 women reportedly happened between 1999 and 2005. Now, the controversial author and comedian is denying the allegations, saying his relationships were always consensual. Brand has appeared in several Hollywood movies, including Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He was also briefly married to pop star Katy Perry. Brand is scheduled to appear in a British court to face these charges on May 2nd.
All right, Ken, thank you for that. The Trump administration is demanding changes in policy at Harvard University in exchange for nearly $9 billion in federal funding. A letter sent to the university demands the Ivy League school eliminate DEI programs and a ban on masks at campus protests. It also called on the school to replace race and gender-based preferences in hiring with a merit-based system. The Trump administration did not give Harvard a timeline to accept the demands, but asked for its immediate cooperation rolling out changes. And Brown University also faces a loss of more than $500 million in government grants. The Trump administration says that's because of the university's response to anti-Semitism. The White House is also reviewing the school's DEI policies. Last month, a Brown University assistant professor and doctor was deported to Lebanon after federal agents reportedly found photos of a dead Hezbollah leader on her phone.
A bill that would loosen restrictions on teen work hours in Florida is advancing in that state's Senate. The bill would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to work more than 8 hours in a day, specifically when school is scheduled the next day. They could also work more than 30 hours a week during the school year without mandated breaks. The bill also removes restrictions on overnight work on school days for some teenagers. This includes 14 and 15-year-olds who are homeschooled, attend virtual school, or graduated from high school. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis argues the change will help fill positions left by deported migrants.
What's wrong with expecting, our young people to be working part-time now? I mean, that's how it used to be when I was growing up. Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when, teenagers used to work at these resorts?
Now, opponents argue children who want to work longer hours can already do that. There's a waiver process involving parents, guardians, or a school superintendent. Critics of the bill say it eliminates them from the process of the decision-making for their children.
This is going to target low-income people, and obviously, as a result, Black and brown Floridians who are more likely to have to rely on income from a young age to support their family.
In recent years, Arkansas, New Hampshire, and New Jersey loosened state laws that regulate the employment of minors.
Well, don't let down your guard. That's the message Tennessee officials are sending to residents. At least 7 deaths across the Midwest and the South are blamed on nonstop severe weather. But as NBC's Kathy Park reports, the threat is not over. Extreme flooding is now on the forecast.
This morning, millions of Americans waking up to a potentially historic flood threat.
We're also looking at some very heavy downpours.
With the multi-day storm system continuing to pound states across the country. Many now bracing for flash floods that forecasters are calling life-threatening and potentially catastrophic. With waters rising in the Midwest and Southeast overnight, the dangerous floods overwhelming cars and making roads impassable in Kentucky. In Tennessee, some homes underwater.
Pretty helpless this morning, honestly. All we could do was watch all this rushing water.
This gym flooded in Nashville. For that state, it's already been a week of nonstop destruction with a relentless string of severe storms. In Selmer, parts of the town completely unrecognizable, with a tornado leveling homes, flipping cars, and tearing full-grown trees from the ground. And near Nashville, a home camera captured this moment. A twister tore the roof off a neighbor's shed and sent it flying. Tennessee's governor calling the scope of the damage heartbreaking.
It is total devastation.
In Arkansas, a massive twister Thursday reduced some areas to rubble. Morgan Ernest and her family barely made it to an underground shelter where they held on tight, knowing their home was being ripped to shreds.
The impact was so scary.
And that was Kathy Park reporting. A level 4 out of 4 high risk of flooding rainfall is in place today and Saturday. The greatest impacts expected between northeastern Texas to Kentucky. So it's a lot that they're dealing with there.
It is, and it's hard not to hear about that and then wonder, I mean, are we going to see any sort of weather system from them come to us? Let's go out to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. Is that the case, Elizabeth? Are we going to see anything that the Midwest is seeing come our way?
That very same front is coming our way, but it won't be a sort of situation where we're going to see that kind of damage and that kind of flooding. But it comes in on Sunday night into Monday, and we should get some significant rain out of it. And that's the subject of my weathercast coming up in 30 minutes. So stick around for that. In the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit more about the heat and what's happening right now. Another look at the gardens where it's absolutely gorgeous. We've got the azaleas in bloom. It is 79 degrees with a dew point of 67. Now, if we could drop that dew point on down to about 50, it would feel glorious. But you can feel the stickiness in the atmosphere right now, and that will feel even worse this afternoon as well as Sunday and Monday. Saturday and Sunday, I should say. 81 already in Southern Pines, 80 in Fayetteville, 78 right now in Rocky Mount. A little bit closer to the Triangle, it's 77 in Garner, 79 in Cary, it's 77 in Zebulon, 80 degrees already in Zebulon. We're looking at 90, certainly as the sun starts to come out. It's been very cloudy this morning, and so we've already had temperatures climbing to almost 80, so it's certainly reasonable to think that we would add 10 more degrees to it with some sunshine. Just beginning to see a few holes in the clouds. I would still say the sky is probably 90% covered with clouds. It's likely to drop down to 40% coverage this afternoon. So 90 in Raleigh, 91 Durham, 90 in Fayetteville, first 90-degree day of the year. High pollen count all the way through the weekend, but it may drop some early next week with the rain that's in our forecast. Love your pollen photos. There have been a bunch of them. Julie Newman of Durham sending us this pond covered in pollen. Go to WRAL.com/report it. We would love to see your photos. 69 is our normal high, so these temperatures near 90 this weekend are way above normal. And then we're going to flip the switch. 65 on Monday, 56 Tuesday. We could see some frost on Wednesday morning. So big changes coming our way. But we could break the record high today at 90. The previous record's 88. And then Saturday, we might tie it. The record's 90. We're looking at 89 to 90. We do have that moderate heat risk for today as we climb up closer to 90 degrees this afternoon. The window for that will be fairly short. But if you don't have air conditioning or if you're sensitive to heat, just keep that in mind for later this afternoon as well as tomorrow and Sunday. Our muggy meter is going to hold right around tolerable until we get to Tuesday, and then it will drop. Look at these red shaded areas. This is where our temperatures are well above normal. We see that cold front that's in the Midwest swinging through, and it will actually deliver us some cold air for next week, along with a chance for some storms. We'll be below normal potentially between the 9th and the 13th, so that cool air may stick around for a while. It's possible that the rain that we see Sunday night will come in time to affect Dreamville, but the newer runs of the computer models are slowing it down, meaning it's maybe starting a little later, maybe 11 o'clock, maybe midnight. So if you're headed to Dreamville, or if you have plans on Sunday night, keep checking in with us. We'll take a deep dive on that coming up in 30 minutes, but keep checking in over the next few days as we get more information in about the timeline for that storm.
Now in the WRAL Live Center, we have a major traffic alert to report to you this noon hour as we take a look at the live traffic sensors. But this one takes us south of the Triangle. We're actually talking a serious crash shutting down all lanes of I-95, just a bit closer to Lumberton, exit 13. If you're familiar with that area, we're talking I-74, US 74. This is the Lumberton area just south of Fayetteville. We're told that that crash is shutting down all those northbound lanes. Now, if you have anyone coming north on 95, and they have not yet hit the North Carolina line, tell them to get off on the first 301 exit. That will give them an alternate route around what's happening on I-95. This road is expected to be closed. All those lanes on northbound I-95, they're not supposed to be open until about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So keep that in mind about this traffic alert.
Ken, thank you for that update. Coming up on WRAL News at 4, younger cancer patients. Early onset cancers have increased globally. We look at what might be contributing to the alarming spike.
And at 5, a bunch of Bs. 2 local restaurants have gotten several B health scores in a row. 5 of your side shows us next in this week's restaurant ratings. Next at noon, freshen up your finances, how to keep your spending in check with a little spring cleaning.
And running out of time, a ban on TikTok is supposed to take effect tomorrow unless a deal is reached today. Why some say it's unlikely.
So with inflation, a rocky stock market, and the tax filing deadline approaching, it's not a bad idea to review your finances. CNBC's Sharon Epperson explains some of the strategies you can do to handle this.
Spring is a great time to refresh your finances with a deep clean. With tax day coming up, you'll want to collect your W-2s and documents you need to claim credits and deductions like child care and charitable donations. With those in place, organize these documents: bank statements, insurance policies, Social Security statements, and examine everyday spending. Also, stretch your dollars and review recurring charges to see what you might cut. It's also a good time to give your investments a touch-up. Know what you own and your mix of stocks, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds. Make sure you are diversified and you understand that if you need to build cash reserves, you don't have to sell assets to meet an emergency. Also, you want to make sure your financial information is secure. Review your credit reports. You may want to freeze credit, which prevents someone from opening accounts in your name. You can do this with each of the credit rating agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Use multi-factor authentication in addition to passwords, and you can manage passwords using password managers. Financial advisors say using these strategies can help you feel more secure and bring order where there was chaos. For CNBC, I'm Sharon Epperson.
Nearly 200,000 blenders sold at Target are being recalled for a laceration risk. The company says the blades could keep spinning even when they're not attached. The Vivitar blender bottles feature a clear plastic bottle with a white plastic base. They were sold nationwide and online from December 2025 until January for about $5. Customers should stop using them immediately and contact Sakar for a total refund. The blender should not be returned to Target.
Your time is 12:25. Spiraling stocks. China retaliates to President Trump's tariffs, sending the markets further in the red. Why the president is standing by his plan.
And fewer filings. The number of tax returns is down compared to the same time last year, what some former IRS workers point to as possible reasons. And as we head to break, here are your winning NC Education Lottery numbers. Good luck.
Happening now in the WRAL Live Center, a major traffic alert to share with you right now in this 12:30 half hour. MLK Boulevard and Peyton Street. MLK Boulevard completely shut down in both directions. This is brand new video into our newsroom right now. You can see Raleigh police working this crash scene. You can also see the two vehicles that were involved in this situation there at MLK and Peyton Street. Again, MLK Boulevard at Peyton Street completely shut down right now. We're working to find out how this crash happened, whether or not any injuries were involved. And of course, as soon as we get that information, we'll let you know. But drivers are encouraged to avoid that area of MLK and Peyton Street.
All right, Ken, thank you. President Trump insists his new tariffs will help the U.S. economy. That's despite significant losses reported on the stock market.
Now, U.S. stocks suffered their worst single-day loss since the start of the pandemic. And as NBC's Alice Barr explains, world leaders are weighing in as the president is open to negotiations.
Amid a major market sell-off, Thursday marking Wall Street's worst day since the depths of the pandemic, President Trump downplaying the reaction to his sweeping new tariffs, arguing the economy is like a sick patient in recovery.
The operation's over, and now we let it settle in.
The global trade war, though, only ramping up, with China announcing a matching 34% tariff on all U.S. imports as trading partners from the European Union to the U.K. and Canada prepare to retaliate.
That it's intended and will cause maximum impact in the United States.
President Trump suggesting the tariffs could change, framing them as a negotiating tool with other nations.
We're taking it to a whole new level because it's a worldwide situation.
The breadth and scope of the administration's tariffs overall rocking many small businesses like Rhoda Auto Repair that doesn't control where parts come from in a global supply chain.
It's steel and aluminum that goes into those parts. It's where those parts come from and are sourced.
All of that expected to drive up prices, and Democrats are hammering the impact on American consumers.
The Yale Budget Office projects that it will cost the average family $3,800 more this year.
A new jobs report shows stronger than expected hiring in March and a slight increase in unemployment before the full tariff picture hit. As forecasters like J.P. Morgan up the chances of a global recession, administration officials are making a full court press to reassure.
We're reinvesting in the United States of America.
Adamant the tariff strategy will bring American manufacturing and jobs back to the U.S., a process economists warn may take years. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And so let's take a look at the markets this afternoon right now. You can see the Dow Jones down 1,600 plus points there. What you're now seeing here listed is the S&P 500 down about 260 points and the NASDAQ down 817. Of course, we'll continue to monitor the stocks and how they're doing as we continue to see a bit of a downturn on Wall Street.
And as the tax filing deadline quickly approaches, the number of Americans filing tax returns is falling while extension requests are increasing. As of March 21st, the IRS had received nearly 1 million fewer tax returns compared to the same period last year. The cause of the drop is not clear. However, former IRS officials point to numerous possibilities, including fear of deportation. Undocumented immigrants may be holding back as the Trump administration tries to use IRS data to facilitate deportation. And next on the list, weather disasters such as the LA wildfires and, of course, those affected by Hurricane Helene. Also, confidence in the process. Some taxpayers might feel like they can wait and still get their refunds without issue. The IRS has paid out nearly $180 billion in refunds so far this cycle. That's about $10 billion more at this point last year.
Today, community leaders in Durham will rally against a rezoning project in the city's historic Hayti district. Developers purchased the land along Fayetteville Street back in 2022, and the plan is to put a mixed-use office, lab, and residential space there. Well, many neighbors in the Hayti community oppose that development. They want a plan that benefits the local community in a better, different way. Tonight's rally begins at 5:30 at St. Mark AME Zion Church on South Roxborough Street.
The Pentagon's Inspector General is investigating defense leaders using the Signal app. That includes Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. As Mike Emanuel reports, the Inspector General wants to know if rules about record retention were followed.
The Pentagon's acting Inspector General announcing a review into the use of the Signal messaging app by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other Trump administration officials to discuss plans for military strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. The probe will also examine, quote, compliance with classification and records retention requirements. It was launched in response to a bipartisan request from the heads of the Senate Armed Services Committee, despite calls from some Republicans to move on.
Multiple folks are on record under oath now saying it wasn't classified.
Hegseth and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz have insisted no classified information was shared in the chat. When pressed on Capitol Hill Thursday, the top U.S. general in Europe says allies abroad have not voiced their concerns.
I have not had anybody pull back any of our intelligence sharing agreements.
And this week, a new potential scandal popped up. Politico reports Waltz and his team have created at least 20 different group chats on the Signal app to discuss policy issues related to Ukraine, China, and the Middle East.
It's going to be a continuing issue, first of all, because of the security risk of talking about national security related issues in a platform that is so vulnerable that the Department of Defense itself has warned that it shouldn't be used.
That was Mike Emanuel reporting. According to Signal, up to 1,000 people can join a chat group and messages can be set to disappear after a period of time, which would violate government record retention rules.
Your time is 12:35. Well, the clock is ticking to save TikTok. What the White House is saying about a deal that must be reached by tomorrow.
And summer is right around the corner, and many are amping up their workout routines. We'll share the best strategies to avoid injury. And you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device.
Well, today's the day for TikTok to reach a deal and avoid a U.S. ban. President Donald Trump's 75-day extension, it runs out tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's unclear if finalizing a deal today is feasible, but the White House says it's crafting a plan to avoid the ban. Amy Kiley reports on the negotiations.
It'll come out before the deadline.
The White House says it's working on a deal to keep TikTok in U.S. app stores. A bipartisan law is set to ban it over national security concerns, unless its Chinese parent company ByteDance sells it. TikTok is operating on an extension that ends tomorrow.
You want to make sure that the TikTok app in the United States is not spying on people. That's good for national security. You also want to give people access to this incredible platform.
Under the U.S. law, ByteDance must sell at least 80% ownership. China seems reluctant to allow that. President Donald Trump is floating the idea of using tariffs as leverage.
It doesn't matter how many investors want to buy this U.S. app of TikTok. Does China want to let them buy it is the big question. They have indicated that they don't.
A deal also must meet two other requirements. The first is TikTok and ByteDance can't coordinate on data sharing due to privacy concerns. Analysts say that could be doable since the U.S. company Oracle now stores that information. The second is ByteDance can't control TikTok's algorithm for fear China could use it to influence Americans. That's a sticking point that Trump once proposed addressing with a lease agreement.
If you're licensing the algorithm, I don't personally understand how you're solving for that problem, but I'm sure that's something that the U.S. government is talking about with this deal.
And that was Amy Kiley reporting. Several potential bidders have come forward, including Amazon, Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, as well as Microsoft. The tech giant unsuccessfully tried to buy the U.S. subsidiary of ByteDance in 2020 alongside Walmart for a reported $30 billion.
Springing into fitness. If you're not careful, you could hurt yourself during your new workout routine, which is why we'll share ways you can ease into a healthier lifestyle after the break.
And carving a niche, a woodworker lands a huge assignment with the NFL. How he's letting his work speak for itself.
Taking a live look outside right now at downtown Cary Park. I see a couple people out there enjoying this lovely summer-like weather we're experiencing today as you're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device.
Well, you've likely heard the saying, summer bodies are made in the winter. Well, summer is just around the corner, and some are beginning to spring into fitness routines. Chanley Painter shares strategies to avoid injuries and burnout.
While many people set fitness resolutions in the dead of winter, data finds most folks abandoned those New Year's goals a few weeks after starting them. But as the weather keeps warming up, anticipation to get outside and back into shape is growing. But if you haven't been active all winter, health experts recommend springing into spring workouts with caution.
Without proper preparation, you can set yourself up for an injury. Some common injuries that we see are strains or sprains of ligaments.
Before easing into a fitness routine, Dr. Derek Burgess of the University of Mississippi recommends easing into a whole body stretching regimen.
We also like to do dynamic stretching instead of just static stretching. What I mean by that is actually moving your body through a full range of motion as you're stretching versus just standing in one place and maybe touching your toes or reaching your hands up.
And once it's time to start exercising,
don't just go on the first day and do a complete workout. Work your way into it. or work your way up to the maximum intensity that you want to get.
But while some people may be trying to cram in spring workouts for summer bodies, Dr. Burgess says getting into proper shape takes time.
So I would say look at the long term versus looking at short term and gradually start to change your exercise, change your diet, change your lifestyle for a healthier you.
And that was Chanley Painter reporting. Don't forget, recovering after a workout. Experts recommend properly hydrating, eating protein, and getting enough sleep.
A Wisconsin artist is making a name for himself in the sports world with a new installation for the NFL. Ike Winter is putting the finishing touches on his 32-piece display for the 2025 draft in Green Bay. Winter says the NFL contacted him after seeing his work online. And the collection is in line with the theme of this year's draft, built by community.
Cold reached out to me. They found my work online and said they had a perfect project in mind for the draft being in Green Bay this year. And they had my art already in mind.
And his creations will be on display along the Draft Theater walkway. Pretty cool.
They are amazing, yeah. All right, well, the Canes are going to the playoffs, and you can get tickets to watch all of the action. The team will play at least 2 playoff games at Lenovo Center, though it's not clear right now who they will play. That's to be determined. Tickets go on sale next Thursday. The Canes clinched their 7th consecutive playoff berth with a Wednesday night win over the Washington Capitals, which was broadcast right here live on WRAL. For information on how to get playoff tickets, visit our website. That's WRAL.com. But listen, the Canes can't be stopped. They keep going to the playoffs.
I mean, will they go all the way? We'll find out very closely as we're watching.
Yeah.
Today, obviously, we're talking about the weather. It's kind of a hot one out there today. Hot one tomorrow, and it's humid, but rain is on the way, Elizabeth.
It is. By the time we get to Sunday night and Monday, we're going to have some significant, much needed rainfall. The problem with this system is it's causing a lot of problems around the Midwest, and we're going to take a closer look at that in just a minute. Let's take a look around our area right now. We're starting to see the sunshine breaking out, but there's still a good bit of cloud cover. I would call it partly cloudy now here. I've seen some significant clearing just in the last 30 minutes. And as that continues, that sunshine will really bump up our temperature. So Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant, of course. And we take a look at what's happening out there. There's a look at the front. This is the dangerous front that caused flooding across a good bit of the Midwest, as well as a lot of storms. Right now, north of that warm front is where we're seeing it. So it's not affecting the exact same places that it did yesterday, but it's certainly not affecting us. For the last 24 hours, we've actually seen much fewer numbers of reports of damage. And so that's definitely a good thing. Yesterday, we had as many as 20 reports of tornadoes and 400 wind damage reports, and that number is much lower today. As the cold front sweeps eastward toward us, we'll see showers and thunderstorms Sunday night into Monday. A low-level severe threat with this. This was just posted today from the Triangle area northward and westward. This would be for late Sunday night. This is not going to be during the day Sunday. You won't have to worry about it until after sunset. The front is going to stay to our west because of this high pressure system. That high that's sitting off the coast of Florida is just sitting there, and it's holding that front to the west. That front is continuing to dump a lot of rain. So another 4 to maybe 6 inches of rainfall along that front, and also a level 4 risk for severe storms, especially around Arkansas up towards St. Louis and down toward Damage. Numerous tornadoes are likely in that area. Also in that area, shaded in brown, is where we can see, again, like I said, another maybe 5 to 7 inches of rain. We should end up with 1 to 2 inches of rain, which we really need. So how is this going to affect Dreamville? Number one, it is going to be hot and humid, nearly 90 both days. So that's going to be a big issue until the sun goes down. People are going to have to really watch it. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water and trying to find some shade. Now, once we get into the evening, once we get past sunset, we're going to be watching for the development of the rain. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to watch that rain moving in. Notice here at 10:30 Sunday night, we're still sitting at 0. This is a much different look than what we were seeing this time yesterday. This time yesterday, we already had a ½ inch of rain at about 10 o'clock. So this is good news for folks headed to the concert. But I want to caution you, keep checking back. If you're going to be there Sunday night until it's over around midnight, keep checking back because this may start to speed up again. We're looking at Monday during the day and into the evening as much as 1.5 inches to potentially 2 inches of rain. And boy, we really need it. Once the front moves through, temperatures will be much cooler. Wednesday morning, we can actually see some frost and our highs will be mostly in the 60s. How about that?
This just into the WRAL Live Center. In the last 30 minutes, a ruling in that lawsuit to throw out about 65,000 ballots in the 2024 elections for the state Supreme Court. Now, Jefferson Griffin, the Republican candidate challenging those ballots, won today at the State Court of Appeals level. Griffin is also a judge on that court, and his colleagues ruled that he's right. Many of those ballots should not have been counted. Now, this case has brought national attention on North Carolina, and today's ruling is almost certain to be appealed. WRAL has reached out to Griffin and his opponent, Democratic Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs. Look for new reporting on this story in our news starting at 4 on WRAL and, of course, online at WRAL.com. Coming up after the break, your top stories.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines that we're following for today. Dreamville Festival starts tomorrow at Dix Park. The park closes to the public at 10 tonight, and the event begins tomorrow at noon. Now, even if you're just driving near the park, the festival is going to affect traffic, so plan ahead. Anyone staying or parking in downtown Raleigh can ride the downtown shuttle to and from the venue. But just so you know, passes cost $50 and are good through the weekend.
And breaking news this hour, a Wake County father accused of beating his infant son. Tyler Baker Williams was charged for injuries to his child that he suffered on March 22nd. That's according to warrants, and was arrested at his home in Garner last night. Baker Williams' bond was set at $500,000 with a court appearance this afternoon. He's a former NC State football player.
We now know the names of the two people killed in an early morning crash on Lewisburg Road. Raleigh police say 22-year-old Trinity Amer was making a left turn from the 5401 development onto Lewisburg just before 3:30. Officers say her vehicle was struck by a vehicle driven by 33-year-old Rashawn Combs. Police say that Combs was speeding, ran a red light, and he struck Amer's door on the side. Both died at that scene.
It's okay to fail as long as you learn something from the experience. A pop-up museum in California is highlighting all things imperfect. The traveling display features everything from medical mishaps, failures in motion, even digital disasters. You can even see a precursor to today's laser mask craze as well.
Genuinely interested in what is all in there, especially the technology. All right, so Mars went rogue at the Kennedy Center.
Oh my gosh, that's not on purpose.
Oh no, because you see the other ones are adhered. That other one is just rolling around over there.
This giant inflatable Mars is rolling around. It was shared on Instagram. It's part of the latest display titled Celestial Bodies, Earth, Moon, and Mars. The installment features 3 30-foot-high inflatable models of those planets. One person shared online, just a normal day in our nation's capital. But don't worry, Mars is now back on the Kennedy Center grounds.
Oh, thank goodness. No more rolling Mars. Okay. Our pet of the day is a lively little pup with a lovable personality. Meet Graham. He's 8 months old, already house trained. He's also great with other dogs, but the Wake County SPCA volunteers aren't sure about cats. He's curious and playful and absolutely loves meeting new friends, whether he's dashing after a ball, zooming around, or simply making you laugh. He is always ready for an adventure. For more information, visit spcawake.org. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
See you soon.
Have a great weekend.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.